Hey, this is Kyle Cooper back with another race breakdown. This is the combined field 35 and 40 plus 1 through 3 field from the CBR Welcome Back, or CBR 0 as I like to call it, for 2021. You can see I had a pretty decent start position, a couple rows back, fairly fast clip in, and the conditions were pretty good for me. It's about 60 degrees, overcast. We thought it was going to rain, but no significant rain ended up coming. The roads were dry. Before this race, I discussed with Mark Tucker, who you just saw go by on that cool yellow and orange bike I'm coming up on now, that neither of us are riding with teammates today. We're riding in different fields. He's 40 plus, I'm 35 plus. Why not if there's an opportunity for us to work together for a breakaway, I'd be down for that. I'm generally a sprinter, but I'm trying to get better at choosing the right moves, and he's a state time trial champion. Seems like the right guy to form alliances with. I'm riding solo in this field as the resident grandpa on Team 6. You see in the first lap, things have been fairly controlled, kind of just sitting in, figuring out where the power is going to come from in the field. There are a couple of teams here today. Evoke has a couple of riders. Stage 2 has a couple of riders, has a few riders actually. And one of those is Rigo Meza, who's always dangerous, and he's in my field. And then Monster Racing Team, which is in they're currently on the front right now, as Daniel Caldera just went up there. And Daniel's in my field, but the majority of the rest of them are in the 40 plus field. And I didn't really know who Danny Cam was, no offense. I'm new to the Masters field. He's a pretty good sprinter, and they're working for him today, and so he's somebody I got to keep an eye on in the future. Not necessarily because we'll be competing together, because we won't always be, but because his field might be working for him, and if I'm in a breakaway with somebody that he's competing against, then they're going to work to bring that back. Spoiler alert. So first lap in the books, there's Daniel Caldera that I just passed, and I'm on Mark Tucker's wheel here. This section right here, downhill, a couple of percent at most, usually get up to over 30 miles an hour in that corner, but you can pedal through that corner fairly safely if necessary. I didn't always, but if you were trying to make up a spot there, you could easily do it by continuing to pedal where others don't. This section, between corners 2 and 3, begins it's flat to slight, false flat, slight uphill as you get to the edge here. And you're also going into a bit of a headwind, but the headwind particularly picks up here as you make a turn and go back up the hill between 3 and 4. So your wind is coming from, it's a cross headwind here, and also uphill, so definitely an area to be alert, as things can happen quickly here. And then turn 4 here, going in towards the finishing sprint. You see it's actually nicely marked it out there. There's 200 meters to go, and then there's a 100 meter to go sign coming up here as well. So I'm bad at knowing how many meters things are. I just kind of go from the corner, which has often led to me blowing up before I get to the line. I'm still learning here, guys. I've only been racing a few years. You see that move went, and I'm following it. I'm kind of staying on Mark's wheel. Guy can put down a long, sustained effort, and I'm willing to work with him. But if he's going to pull, and I'm doing 300 watts plus in his draft, I'm not really gonna pull through until he tells me to. As soon as I get the elbow flick, I'm motivated to help him out as well. Oh yeah, I did forget. There are a few of the Boost cycle sport riders that we just passed there, and a couple of them kept attacking off the front in this race. But then once the attack went, they didn't seem to want to really contribute to keeping it going. So you can see Mark gives me the flick. I pull through. He pulled off maybe a little wider than he needed to. I was going to just roll right through, so he kind of, maybe he was just checking the field there, because you can see he's kind of set up because we're, you know, more or less caught, still strung out, but. And he and I did a good job about communicating. He would generally say, okay, we're caught, ease it up. You can see I'm, you know, coming up the hill here, doing a little bit more power, just to kind of keep it fast, but you hear somebody yelling from the back. We got a gap, boys, which, psych, I looked under my arm. I knew that wasn't going to happen. You hear me say I don't fall for that. But it wasn't the first and won't be the last time that someone tries me to get to do work unnecessarily while I'm at the front. I'm learning. I believe this is Pat Boss here, leader from the Hit Squad racing team. There are a few of them in this race as well, taking a little bit of a roll off the front here. You know, personally, being a single rider, I don't really see the need to chase down every move when there are people with 3 and 4 and 5 teammates in the field. It should be their job to chase them back. Now, the hardest thing for me was, I know Rigo's the guy to beat in my field, but I don't know him well enough to, to spot his helmet color, shoe colors, stature, things like that, will become second nature hopefully at some point. So I never know. I quickly see a stage 2 guy go off the, you know, on a blazing attack, and I'm like, shit, was that him or not? Well, I guess we'll find out when we catch him, because this is pretty early for an attack, especially solo. You know, my friend Daniel Caldera again's on my wheel. He and I ride together not infrequently. Another time trialist. And apparently he's going to try to drop me now. Speed ramps up. My boy Mark's here on the Monster Racing team's wheel, and so I know right where to be. I'm going to slide it on him. And you know what I'm thinking at this point is, okay, we'll probably catch that stage 2 rider here within a corner or two. Should be ready for the counter. And I wasn't expecting, you know, I'm seeing here in retrospect, I wasn't expecting a bridge attempt as we were approaching them, which is what that was there. I guess it depends on who the rider is up the road. You know, if you're getting within close, you know, proximity to somebody who's a strong rider, you know he's going to work. Makes sense, you know, as the field starts to bring it back. If you can bridge really quickly and then inject some power into the breakaway effort, and maybe you can help it stay away when it's previously was doomed to fail. But you know, it's early and the field is motivated. Not going to happen. Mark with a 1,000-watt attack. Not going to go with every effort he does, especially if he attacks that hard. And so that was me saying he's not in my field to somebody who was like kind of gesturing for me to follow him. I'm going to stick with Daniel. He's in my field. As far as I can tell right now, it's just 40 plus riders up the road. It does make it a little interesting. How do you race these? You don't want to burn a match for people who don't have any place in your standings. But then again, it's a small field and it's kind of interesting when you're just letting people roll off the front. You know, we're slowly gaining on them. I'm trying to just do a measured effort here. Planning on pulling off around the corner, I assume. As I No one seemed to be making a concerted effort to come around me. You see I'm over here on the gutter. As I told you, it's a cross headwind from the left here. If nobody's going to come around me, I'm not going to give them any more draft than they deserve. And then finally, as we come in here, people got the message. This rider was riding very strong. I'm trying to remember. I know Elijah Baker was in the field. I'm not sure if this is him. Still getting to know the players in the Masters field. You can see that yet again a boost rider going for a breakaway and then kind of sitting up. As I'm coming up here, I'm preparing for a counter, but I see that I'm coming up on them fairly fast. I'm gapping off the rider behind me, so I just decide, let's go. Blow their doors off and see who hops on. Try not to do it, too much of an attack. It was fairly telegraphed, and Mark latches on. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring that stage 2 rider with us. He seemed to have been fairly blown. Flick through for Mark there. Trying to tell the guy to go around him and pull. Me saying shut up. Everybody's back together and somebody keeps yelling go. Oh man, people are interesting to me. If you wanted to go, you should have bridged up a minute ago. Thanks. Sometimes I'm curious, they're dying because they just bridged. Maybe they really think that they're gapped off the that they have a gap from the field. Maybe they haven't looked back, but I assume it's mind games. These guys are all fairly experienced in this field. Giving Daniel a little bit of a hard time for his sock preem. I like socks. I forgot it was a preem lapper. I wouldn't have let him have it. In general, I'm after the final results, not the preems. But if I'm on the front with 25 meters to go, probably should collect the prize. Got a little bit of speed going here, but everybody's kind of on us. I'm not sure this is going anywhere, so we look back and kind of kill it. Ready for the next attempt. This guy's sitting up. I want to get around him pretty quickly. Try to filter back in without having to close the gap myself, let a couple other people fill in that gap if possible. Attack on the right side here. into the downhill. It's kind of an interesting place to attack. You know, you can usually carry speed fairly well down this hill. So sitting on Mark's wheel, letting him tow me back up to the group. Looks like the right number of people. We got a decent gap. If only we can work together. So let's see what happens. Got a stage 2 rider, not Rigo, who I know will be in the numbers from 100 to 150, like me, 40 plus or 150 and up. You can see it's fairly disjointed. People are kind of all over the place, not working together, or not falling into a baseline, and I know this is doomed to fail. Boost rider doesn't want to pull. Mark isn't going to have any of it. Lets him filter back in. And, you know, with how things are going here, I'm just expecting a counterattack at this point. We got these two riders kind of just rolling away from the field here. But a couple of big teams not represented there, so I know that's going to come back. Now that rider that just attacked there was trying to bridge. He was fairly strong, and I believe he's in my field. I didn't realize that, and I didn't know who he was at the moment. But he had a couple nice attacks, and I think he finished well as well. As I always am, anytime I see a stage 2 rider go, even if I'm not sure which one it is, I always get a little nervous. But telling this rider to slot in front of me here. Looks like a better draft. One thing I don't like about what I did here is I let him in, but then he was kind of like not holding the wheel, and so I kind of went around him. I should have just been definitive and went around him, and been like, okay, fine, I'll take the wheel. He's leaving a little bit more of a gap there than I would have liked. Then I kind of look like a jerk because it looks like I'm pushing him out into the wind. I'm not trying to. I just, you know, I give you a wheel, hold the wheel, man. And then I end up out in the wind as a result of not being, decisive and taking the wheel back. So I just kind of stay up on the outside here, trying to hold my position. Not thrilled about being in the wind. Somebody going around cones there. Cyclocross, boys. Field's got 13 seconds apparently. We'll bring him back. Now, I'm actually really liking kind of, when I wasn't off the front with Mark multiple times, I'm kind of liking how I was able to hold my position in the front third of the race an entire day. My fitness felt really good during the warm-up. Garmin said +5 recovery index or whatever, performance index, and I looked at it and said, yeah, I know, I can tell my legs feel good. And I was expecting big things out of this race. It's part of why, the plan with Mark seemed like it was going to be a good one. If any day I was going to learn how to stick a breakaway at a crit, I figured it would be on a day when I felt like I did. But sometimes your legs feel so good, you make decisions that aren't necessarily the smartest. pull because you can rather than doing what what I should be doing, which is I have no teammates. I'm under no obligation to pull. Thank you very much. Got to get better at that. Ego's a real thing, and at the end of the day, no one cares if you pulled or didn't. Beyond that particular moment, but they do remember who won, and you can't win if you're burning all your matches unnecessarily. This week we did a good job of tapering a bit. I did not do my normal Saturday group ride. I did a part of it, just the easy part, rolled out, and then when everybody turned to go fast, me and a couple of my teammates turned and went easy. I did a few intervals planned by my coach, 5 and an 8 minute interval each in the 300s, and a couple of leg opener sprints, but otherwise kept it pretty easy. And I think that had a lot to do with why my legs were feeling so good. And I got Daniel. Daniel's a hard puller. Mark pulls. Flicks me through. I'm fine to pull. Mark's like, I ain't doing a 10-minute pull like Daniel just did. What was up with that? Monster Racing Team rider here. Guess they're deciding to go to the front and try and bring this back. So I appreciated Mark's mentoring in this race. He said, let's get a couple of wheels ahead of us and then launch, which it's didn't work out that way. We'll do it later, but somebody attacked right at the preem bell. It's like hear a preem bell speed up automatically, so he kind of lost that opportunity to do what he said. And because of that, I was kind of concentrating on his plan, and he rolls off, and I decided to kind of sit in. I really like the mix of people he was bridging across to. But he had a good idea, and I think that's it's a good plan. If you're on the front, you're feeling good though, no reason to pull hard. Just wait for people to come around you, and then attack from a few wheels back, get up to speed before you pass the people in the front. That's the proper way to launch an attack. The Audi rider was riding pretty well as well today. I told him after that excellent pull he just did, I got you as I'm coming in the corner. He laid it all out on the line to pull up that hill at a relatively quick clip. So I pull through here, about 300 watts. Nothing crazy, just trying to keep the speed reasonably high. Wait for somebody else to hit the gas, as you see here. I'm a solo rider. It's not my job to bridge to doomed attacks or pull the field back in that case. So I'm forced into another pulling situation here. So you can see my power. I'm only doing like 200 watts here. I'd rather just carry my speed through the corner well, maintain the momentum. This guy apparently didn't want to keep bridging, so I jump in his draft for a split second and just blow past him.
It's your field up there, not mine.
Yeah, me calling out that nice move around that corner. He took a good line with a lot of speed. A good way to launch if you're going to bridge across. So I was admiring that. Typically the faster line's going to be on the inside, but and he came in with some momentum. So you can see we're almost about to catch them. This person pulls off for God knows what reason. We're close enough here. And then I'm ready for counterattack. And you can see, Audi riders like pedaling and then not pedaling, pedaling, not pedaling. And I mentioned to him, if you're gonna look back, you gotta keep pedaling, man, because I almost hit him. He apologized. He's a nice guy. Not like I don't make boneheaded mistakes all the time. People are fairly tolerant. So I heard this one coming more than saw it, and I was gonna try and jump on. Man, did he want to go hard. And now I'm kind of out in no man's land. This is not ideal. I should have either stuck on his wheel or not stuck on his wheel, but I saw, Rigo coming, and I said, okay, now it's now or never, man. This could be it. If he thinks it's a good move, I should too. But even when he went by me, he attacked past me very hard, and I was not really in his draft as I was bridging against. So that's 2 failed opportunities for me to let somebody else tow me up to the break. But this is the proper size. You can see the people were here. We got, different teams that are represented. We got Charles behind me. Rigo, Mark Tucker, me, Monster Guy, and a hit squad guy. I mean, talk about a good makeup. We really should just immediately start rotating at this point. But it doesn't happen, and I'm not sure why. Rigo doesn't want to pull through. People are yelling at him. Roll through or pull off. Pat looks back like, what the hell's going on? And, Rigo looks like he wants to yell at somebody back. And I just keep going. We're all caught at this point, so it's time to reset. It was unfortunate. That was quite a good mix of people. But it just wasn't in the cards. Yeah. And I mentioned to Mark, with my inflated ego in the moment, Rigo doesn't want to pull if I'm right on his wheel. I just assume it's because I'm there. More like he just doesn't want to pull unless he has to, ever, which is the right way to do things. He's a good racer, man. I really like watching him. The way he moves on his bike, though, you'll see later, it's a little, I'm not trying to criticize, but he is a little twitchy when he's going hard, and I'm not sure he's the best wheel for me to be right on with the way that I ride. It was sketching me out a little bit. And so you noticed that a little bit ago, and you'll see it again, and you know, a couple more, another brake attempt, and in the final sprint. Same dealio here. I'm kind of like off on the front in no man's land, so I'm not going to ride hard here. I'm basically just soft pedaling, waiting for the group to come up to me. It's always scary going uphill when you're doing in this moment where the group, you're intentionally trying to let the group come back to you. You know that they're going to come up to you with a little bit more speed than you have, and that's a good opportunity for them to attack around you. But luckily, it didn't happen here. Everybody was a little tired from that last attack, bringing it back. Mark pulling at the front for another 6 laps. He's very strong. I'm not sure. You know, again, not to criticize, but that was a very telegraphed attack off the front. He, really more of a way just to get the speed going, and then he immediately stops. Maybe he just knew he didn't get a gap. So what's the point? Oh yeah, this was my oh shit moment of the race there. I was going up on that barrier. Didn't know that it cut in like that because we hadn't taken a wide line through there yet, and until now. You can see I'm not super happy about the fact that Daniel just rolled off, because I know he's strong. I know he's in my field, and I was not in a good position or feeling super hot at this exact moment to bring that back. But solo rider. Figure, you know, a couple of guys want to work with me together. We'll bring it back. See, the wind kind of picked up in this direction. It was a little bit more headwindy through here than it was earlier in the race here. It was kind of blowing us around a little bit. And I think this is going to be a good opportunity for counterattack right as we get back up to Daniel here. And so I'm trying, you know, if nobody's going to flick me through, I'm trying to sit in. If any opportunity to get one of the guys in my field out of position is going to be a good opportunity for me. And so right as Mark goes on cue, I hop on his wheel. You know, and I talked to Daniel afterwards, and he was still feeling good. Maybe I should have yelled for him to hop on, because he, you know, he would have been willing to work and help us keep away. But as I said, he was in my field, and he just got done being off the front himself. So Mark and I roll it, and we got an awesome gap right off the bat, mostly because Mark is such a badass. And so I hop on the front and try and maintain a decent downhill pull here. In retrospect, I'm not sure I'm pulling hard enough, and I'm not sure why. I think probably I should have put in a little bit more of a concerted effort on this downhill. Sorry, Mark. Maybe it's because of how hard I had to jump to hop on his wheel. My heart rate is almost 180, so it's not like I wasn't working. I think we're just, you know, maybe a little, we're a little mismatched as far as power. You know, doing the same power in this draft as I'm doing downhill, but on the front. It's never a great sign. But you know, I'm here because I want to learn how to properly pace, and you know what amount of effort is kind of necessary to stay away. So I go to the front, and this time, you know, going uphill, pull at what I feel like is a little more appropriate, just above threshold. And my FTP is 338 right now. got a lot of daylight here. You know, I haven't. Always good to hear the announcer calling the name of you and your brake mate. And right as we came up here, I heard through the speaker, I love that move, and I realized, I look back over my shoulder and I see there's a stage 2 rider rolling up on us, and I go, if that's Rigo, that's perfect, because we could stay away. Wasn't sure who it was. He skips a, you know, he gets on the end here, rolling downhill. I'm like, now there's 3 of us. We can maybe make this happen. And I'm looking back to see who it is, waiting for him to come through. Mark takes the front, and I think it's totally reasonable. Someone who just bridged up. You know, I see that it's not who I thought. You know, it's not Rigo. But you know, there's 2 things I'm thinking here. One is, if it's not him, you know, maybe he's a strong rider. Maybe we could still work together. He can benefit our breakaway effort. But the other possibility is, what if he's not pulling through here solely to disrupt? And I'm not sure if that was intentional, but it worked. Because we're not going anywhere if he's not gonna pull through. And then right on cue, there's Rigo. So, not sure if those team tactics were intentional, but I think they worked well for a disruption, for Rigo to get on. And then, you know, now I have to respect this move. And I'm thinking at this moment, oh crap, you know, if I was a marked rider, which I don't think I am, but if I was a marked rider, there'd be an opportunity here for this stage 2 rider in front of me to let a gap open and let Mark and the hit squad rider roll away with Rigo, and I'd have to close the gap myself. So I'm watching for a gap to open here, and I'm planning to go around him as quickly as possible if that happens. And he moves to the side here, and my fears are confirmed. So I have to close the gap and jump over to the group. And now that I've seen him a few times in the video, I know who Pat is a little bit better. So, you know, we're making, I think it's pretty good speed here. Mark shaking his head. He's like, I'm not going to pull you around forever, I assume is what he's thinking, since, you know, Rigo's not pulling through at all. Get a little camera wave there from one of the Evoke riders. Kind of scary to think what Mark could have done to this field if he wasn't on the front for half the race. Somebody yelled right side there. I was pretty sure that was the left. So I remember hearing that. I'm like, what? I looked over to the gutter. There's nothing happening over there. I'm like, what are you talking about? Super pumped about being kind of boxed in here. Trying to work my way off to the side. And we got 3 laps to go. Need to move a little bit further forward here. In retrospect, I'm watching this already back a little further than I should have been. Especially when one of my rivals, 2 of my rivals are right in front of me. I'm going to try and move up, be closer to them. You know, being that it's only 3 to go here, assuming nothing's nothing's gonna happen, so just trying to stay safe and be in front of any splits that may develop as the speed goes up. Keep the important riders in sight. You can see Gil here on the right, high speed. He's not in my field. I'm not sure who it is that's yelling, but somebody's yelling at Monster to get the speed up because it's getting pretty sketchy, and I'm definitely in agreement with that. If we could go faster here, it would be a lot better experience for everybody. It's getting all bunched up like it's a field sprint with 3 laps to go. Staying on Rigo's wheel here. Daniel to my left, Danny Cam is here in the front. Now I know what he looks like. And Gil here in my front right. Ooh, a little bit of elbow action against Daniel's booty there. 2 to go. Just jockeying for position here, trying to stay towards the front. People are kind of swinging side to side. And it was about this point where the way that people were moving was just making me a little sketched out. So I decided to roll forward. I'd rather following. I'd rather kind of be closer to the front and not be behind a bunch of these people moving around in S's. Hit squad rider attacks here around this corner. I'm like, I don't really see a point in closing this gap right now. I'm fairly certain we'll catch this guy on the hill. It was a nice move, but that's not going to stay. So kind of sticking here with the monster riders. And one thing I'll say is I didn't respect the fact that they were organizing a proper train or who they were working for until it was too late. And Mark afterwards says, I saw this was happening, and I just figured I'd stick on their 3 or 4 man train and ride that to the finish. That's smart. I need to do a better job of recognizing when that's happening, especially with me racing in the pro field as well. If I even want to have a hope at a top 10 finish with them. That was a nice move Mark followed. I like that. Probably should have stuck with his wheel. But at this point my mind's already set into field sprint mode. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, well, if that's the case, sounds like that's actually 2 to go. If that's the case, if I'm already getting in a field sprint mindset, why am I letting myself get boxed in and getting so far back in the field? Not what I should be doing. I should be fighting for my position, keeping myself an outside line. Don't allow myself to get swarmed, losing these positions that I fought for the entire race to hold. Yeah, there's Quitwood on my wheel. So you can see there's a train being put together, or at least there's 3 guys from Majestic all together. But I know Ronnie is their predominant sprinter, and he's on the front, so I'm not really thinking that that's fully organized yet. So I just kind of surf wheels, trying to work my way back up to the front where I belong. Ronnie's always a good wheel, though. I mean, he knows how to finish on the podium all the time. So somebody behind me yelling, quit twitching. And they were yelling at Rigo, who, as you can see, I'm on his wheel. I see him go by me, and I try to get on his wheel, and he doesn't really maintain. He rides at a really high cadence, and I think that's what leads to that kind of back and forth motion of him a little bit. And I'm overlapping him a little bit here, or close to at least, and probably not a great move on my part. But as I said, at least for my rider, or for my ride type, this kind of movement was really sketching me out, and making me uncomfortable. And I lost a little bit of my nerve. You can go hear the bell for 1 to go. But I'm just trying to hold position here and find any rider to ride around him. I'm trying to keep him at. Oof, that was tight. Trying to keep him in my sights, not let him get more than one rider ahead of me. You can see how much movement back and forth there is amongst the peloton here. It's apologize for the language. Somebody hit me from the right inside there, and we almost crashed. I'm already kind of sketched out, so and because of all of those different things, I'm further back than I want to be here. So already with 2 corners to go, I should be about 5 riders further up this. And you can see that's where the train is, and that's why Danny wins. Spoiler alert. So, watching the stage 2 rider, kind of lost track of the fact that that's not Rigo anymore. Too many bikers on Celeste Bianchi's. I can't tell who's who. You can see there's him up in the front right, and he's in the right position. He's in there, inserted in the Monster Racing Team train, as is Mark Tucker. And I go for, I felt like I could open up a pretty big sprint here, so I was really getting ready to punch it. And I got bumped by the stage 2 rider there, I don't know if you noticed, and then Ronnie's wheel explodes in front of me. Man, oh man, what a chaotic last couple of laps. So, not super pumped with where I finished in the overall finishing order there. I think it was like, it was top 10, but I did end up second in my field. Rigo was the only one in the 35 plus that beat me, so a few more upgrade points. I've almost maxed out my Masters upgrade points at this point. It was a fun race, and I appreciate the learning opportunities that came from it, and it's fun riding with these guys, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Thanks for watching.